Here we go. I recently became acquainted with spaghetti squash, or sort of reacquainted. I always knew about it, but I never really cooked with it. And I found many tips about how to cut it and what things you can use it for, and some unusual ways to incorporate into your meals. So I have two, because I stocked up a bit for this, virus situation. And I thought, why don't I try and cook them the two different ways that I found online that I was kind of drawn to. One of the things I found out is that if you microwave it, supposedly it's easier to cut. So I figured what I would do was microwave one and do one without microwaving. The other thing that I found out is that there's two ways you can cut a spaghetti squash. The first way is this way, which I think is the more common way to do it, and I kind of like it because when you flip it over, more of the area gets roasted and can get a little crispy when you cook it. In my Googling now, I found out that the more proper way to cut it is this way, because the strands of spaghetti are actually going in this direction in the spaghetti squash, and I didn't know that. So when you're cutting it this way, you're actually cutting your spaghetti strands in half. I don't really mind that so much, because to me long strands of spaghetti are hard enough to eat as it is, so I don't really mind if my spaghetti strands are cut in half. But I thought, well, it might be a nice experiment to see what it's like to have the longer spaghetti strands, so I'm going to do both today. All right, now first up, we're going to do the one where I try the microwave tip. Be right back. I've microwaved this one for a minute at 900 watts, and then this one remains unnuked. You're supposed to score with a knife, a small knife. Let me try a different knife. You're supposed to make like a dotted line in the direction. I can't look at the camera, sorry. I'm going to cut a finger off. Here we go. The other thing you'll notice is that I've placed a towel on the cutting board, because supposedly that keeps it from slip sliding around. So now once I have this side scored, I'm going to flip it over where I'm doing it. So now I'm going to do the same on this side. This is supposed to make it easier. I'm not sure I agree. Okay, so once it's scored like a dotted line all on this side and on this side, and then, so they say on YouTube, it's easier to get it to open. So let's see. And so they say, whoever they are. Oh my goodness. See, this is where we're going to see. They make it look so nice and easy on YouTube, and I'm going to show it to you the real life. This is real life. Let's flip it around. So I'm cutting in my dotted line. They make things look so easy on YouTube. Okay, so now I've cut through the top. Now let's see what happens if I try to open it up this way. Okay, I'm going to put my fingers inside. This is what the lady did on the YouTube video. And then she pulled it apart. Ooh, she pulled it apart like this. Like this. Okay. All right. So that's one way to do it. And that's not really too great for me, because see what happened there? That's unfortunate. All right, well, so that's version number one. Okay, so we'll set that aside for a minute. Now I'm going to make an attempt to cut this one. They say the same thing, that you score it with the smaller knife. So we'll start doing that. Maybe it will be easier to go in this direction. Let's see. This does seem a little easier in this direction. Maybe this is going to be the thing we all learned today. Right off the bat, I'm almost in half. Ah! You saw it here, people. Oh my God. That was amazing, okay? Yeah, that really made things different and easier. So now my experiment has proven that this is a very good way to cut a spaghetti squash. Forget it with this. Never again. This is what you want. Is we take a spoon and we got to spoon the guts out. I will cook them both because they're fine. I'm going to fix that one up a little bit. So you're supposed to get in here with a spoon, and you're supposed to cut out. It's like when you do the pumpkin carving for Halloween. You get in here. I love carving a good pumpkin, me and Jonathan. So we scoop out the guts on all of these. So one is done, and there we have it. what I want to share with you is sometimes mistakes are meant to happen. So do you see what happened here? The spaghetti, when that didn't break exactly right, when it didn't come cut in half exactly right, it sort of revealed some of the spaghetti strands, and you can see the direction that they are going, which is around the spaghetti squash in this direction. Oh my gosh, so enlightening. What I'm going to do next is take each one of the halves that I have here, the 4 halves, and I'm going to drizzle a little bit of extra virgin olive oil around on them and just kind of let it roll around in there, and a little bit of salt and pepper. So here's what I'm using. 7 Barrels, one of my favorite brands. They have so many different infused oils, and their raspberry balsamic is amazing, so highly recommend. And I drizzle. I can't do this up close or else I'll spill it, but that was not drizzle. That was way more than drizzle. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just share it. Let's get a little closer so you can see. So I'm taking it and I'm tossing it around inside there and moistening it up nicely so that it gets on the edges and in the hole, like so. Then I'm going to sprinkle each one with a little salt and a little pepper. And then I turn it upside down. Numero dos. Now I'm going to do the same thing with our other halves. A little drizzle, a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. Now you'll see I didn't put anything else in the roasting pan. You could spray it, I suppose, if you wanted to. I don't really have a problem. This particular pan doesn't have much of a sticking problem. And the last thing I like to do before I put this in the oven is just give it a few pokes with a knife or a fork, just to allow some of the air out so it doesn't bubble up. This goes in for about 45 minutes to an hour, depending on your oven. I have my oven set to 400. I like to get it a little bit roasty so that it does kind of brown the bottoms a bit. That's just how I like it. And once your fork kind of starts to go through it, then it means it's pretty much ready. So we'll come back and we'll take a peek at it in a little bit. Here it goes. Okay, let's see how our spaghetti squash is doing. It's been about 45 minutes. So first things first, we're going to put a knife in it. Okay. The knife comes in and out pretty easily. The next thing we do is we want to flip them over. Don't burn yourself. Let's see. All right, we flip them over. Now there's 2 schools of thought about how to go about the spaghetti squash untangling. Thought number 1 is we just take the fork and we drag it like so. It helps to wait till it's cool, but I have no patience. So let's do it. And then we put it into a bowl. So when we scrape it, we're scraping the spaghetti right out of the squash. What I learned online is that if you cut it the other way, and I'm gonna do this for the first time with you guys right now, that you take a fork and then you twist. Yeah, sure. The guy online made it look so easy. Anyway, you twist around like so, and then you end up with longer spaghetti strands. Let's see if that's true. Okay. My suggestion is to go with this direction of cutting to make it easier to work with in the beginning, and also it's pretty easy to pull them out too. See that? So I'm going to dress this little bit of spaghetti squash I set aside with a bit of pistachio nuts, a few raisins, okay, sprinkles of parsley. So that's one way to do it. There's plenty of recipes you can find for spaghetti squash. Saute it in a frying pan. Once it's cooked, you can add some garlic, whatever, if you love that, olive oil, toss up some butter in it, whatever, to make it a little more flavorful. But another great one is to use it in the morning for breakfast. If you take a little bit that's cooked already from the night before and put it in a dish, a little bowl in the morning, scramble an egg or fry an egg and stir it in there with the spaghetti squash. It is a delicious change of pace for breakfast. I highly recommend it. And it also is super low in calorie. It only has 42 calories for a cup and 8 net carbs. So it's great if you're trying to find a healthy alternative to pasta. And that is all. Enjoy.